Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of not just the Locked On Padres podcast, but also the Locked On Yankees podcast. That's right. It is a crossover special on this lovely Friday, May 26th day. I'm one of your hosts with sometimes occasionally, but certainly not always the most, Javier Reyes. Follow me on Twitter at Javipeno, Javiipeno, which is, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, the best handle on the Locked On MLB network. I really do stand by that. I think it's great. I think it's unique. I think it's spicy, obviously. I think it's great. But I'm also being joined by two people. If you're watching the YouTube, one, you could see my illustrious fit, my friends over here on the top, but you could also see my two friends, Stacey Gotsulias. Stacey Gotsulias, co-host of Locked On Yankees, and Steve Granado, producer of Locked On Yankees. You might remember Steve also from Locked On Angels when he used to host that as well. Good friend of mine. We actually went to a Yankees game together last year, which was a lot of fun. And since we are pals, I figured let's do a crossover and talk about this upcoming series. Before we talk about that, though, how are you folks doing today?
Awful, terrible, worst day of my life. But you're here, which makes it the best day of my life.
Thank you. I try to bring sunshine and happiness wherever I go. I try not to be overly cynical, despite what people who listen to my show might believe. I still do very much enjoy baseball, very much. And Stacey, we've done crossovers before too. I know, but it's been a while, and we haven't done one for a series reason. You know, at least I don't think so. I think one of our first crossovers, hilariously enough, was back during, it was pandemic times, folks.
Yeah.
Like, think of the pandemic. So cut us a break. But we did like a Judge Judy parody. I don't know if you remember this, debating Gleyber Torres versus Fernando Tatis Jr. People might, you remember that? People might shriek to hear that, but we did that with a former Blue Jays host as well.
That's right.
And
AJ,
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
AJ was on that one. It was a lot of fun. And for those who are listening, I might be wondering, Javi versus Gleyber Torres, of course, Tatis. At the time, Gleyber was coming off of his 34 homers season, batting two. So he looked great. And then Tatis had only played 60 games. So at the time, it made sense. But I'm super happy for you guys to be on the show and for us to preview this series. I think it's going to be a blast, man.
That's true. Because any other time we're on, we do trades. So we never really do a series preview.
Exactly.
So this is cool.
Yeah, exactly. We did the Tatis talk. Remember that flimsy BS radio rumor? Man, that was a slow news day if I've ever seen one. There. Oh, I heard Tatis. It was this isn't just an online thing. This was a radio, ESPN radio person. I forgot who it was just I heard things about Tatis. It's oh my gosh, you Yankees fans sometimes. But you two are great. So I guess just to kick the ball rolling before people tune out or something like that. What is kind of the overall state of the Yankees heading into the series with the Padres? Because I know that my team, and I imagine you have questions about them, has not been a lot of fun to cover for sure.
Well, if you ask Yankee fans, this season has not been fun, despite what the record says.
Yeah.
If you look at our YouTube comments, some of them, granted, I won't say all of them, that's for sure. We have some really great commenters and some really good subscribers. We built a nice little community, but some of them really think this is the season from hell.
Yeah. Even after wins, they're like this, though, which is unbelievable. They can't even be happy when the Yankees win a game. They have to point out the bad stuff. It's just, it's unbelievable, but not unbelievable if you follow Yankee fandom.
It's true. That's fair. We're recording this, full transparency, before the Thursday night game against Baltimore. So at this time we're recording, the Yankees are 9 games over 500. So yes, they are not leading the East. Yes, Tampa Bay was the hottest team in baseball for a month and a half. They've slowed down. Baltimore's really good. But overall, considering all the injuries the Yankees have had, it's been a pretty darn good year when they have had 3/5 of their rotation for 90% of the season. So it's been some ups and downs, that's for sure. But they're on an up right now. You're welcome.
I mean, look, I get it too. The complaining almost it feels similar to, we keep doing this in baseball where people are looking at the standings only, It's like, well, maybe the division's just great. This happened last year with the Mets, where every sports talk radio was like, they collapsed.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, look,
They won
if
100
winning
games.
100 games counts as a collapse and you finish second because another team won 100, I'll take that any day of the week if that's what a collapse means, because apparently our loose definitions of best ever and collapse, we just throw those things out there all the time, apparently, in sports media. It's just, you have to do it. Oh, that's the best game I've ever seen. That's the worst. Whatever. Or they collapse. They blew a 2-run lead in the 4th inning, so therefore it's a collapse. It's never somewhere in between. But yeah, and then I mean, just with the Yankees, I know that they made some moves this offseason. Carlos Rodon, who unfortunately isn't pitching yet, and I don't really know when he's expected to come back. I'll ask about that in a second. Then, of course, you have Aaron Judge, who almost in a strange, bizarre way, from my perspective, has almost had a little bit of an underrated year. In a strange way, where like he's kind of doing the same thing he did last year, and I think that a lot of people rightfully expected, well, no one really does this 2 years in a row. That's just how the course of the game has gone. But I'm wondering, I guess, just to talk about like what has that offense been like, not just with Judge, but in general, because my team was expected to have the offense to end all wars, and that has not been the case. So what has it been like, do you think, for the Yankees so far?
Well, I'll just say that the offense is a lot better when Aaron Judge is in it, and we saw that when he was
Mm.
on the IL, and as soon as he came back, they won 10 out of 13 to that point. So I would say the team is much better with Aaron Judge in it. And you're right, where I think he's only 4 home runs behind his pace from last year, maybe 4 or 5. But he had that IL stint. So the fact that he has 14 with those days missing is pretty impressive. And it is kind of weird how people in the last few days, because of what happened with Toronto and certain things that happened up there, people are paying more attention to him. But like you said, yeah, they thought, no, there's no way he's going to do anything close to what he did last year. But I don't know, if he stays healthy the rest of the year, he could do something close to what he did last year.
Yeah, he definitely, I mean, it should come as a no-brainer, what you just said there, Stacey, that he's better when the team is better when he's in the lineup, which is, again, obvious. But I think that comes juxtaposed with how bad they were without him.
Yeah.
And that does come with a bit of a caveat, considering that Harrison Bader was not in the lineup either. Neither was Giancarlo Stanton. Neither was Josh Donaldson. And, your catching situation, you're not really getting a lot out of your catchers. So you're kind of second stringing a lot of your stuff.
Yeah.
But overall, especially over the last 2 weeks, especially since Judge came back, it just makes everybody better. Everyone is scared of Judge. And we've kind of tiptoed around this season, but I think we should come out and flat out say how clutch Aaron Judge has been this season. That's not necessarily, maybe just baseball in general isn't really talked about enough like it is in basketball, but for all intents and purposes, Aaron Judge has been the clutchest Yankees player this season.
Yeah, and it started last year, and he had that kind of knock against him because he hadn't had a walk-off home run. He, had a few games in his past where he came up with, bases loaded, bottom of the ninth, they're down a run, nothing happened. He either struck out or grounded out or whatever. And last year when he went on his tear, he had 3 walk-off home runs, from going from no walk-off home runs to just constantly hitting them. And it feels like, when a guy comes back from not doing well, and he gets that first hit and it starts the ball rolling, that kind of happened with him last year. And now he's suddenly become the guy that you expect to be clutch in those situations. And it's a lot of fun to see, for us, at least, not for the other teams.
It kind of came that same way this year too, because remember, he was, for the last week and a half, 2 weeks before he was put on the IL for that near 2-week stint, he was not swinging well. He started off hot, then he went into a spell, and then he came back from the IL, and all of a sudden he's like, God's gift to man again. So he's been swinging it, man, and he's been such a huge boost for the Yankees.
You love to see it, not necessarily if you're a Padres fan, though. And we're going to talk about the Padres perspective in a second. But first, Stace, I got to talk about a very important set of clothing. You might have heard of them because they send us stuff. And, sometimes sponsors, they send stuff and I'm like, all right, I'm looking forward to this. And it's usually really good stuff. But man, let me tell you, bird dogs, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to comfort and comfort that can kind of be used anywhere. This isn't just like pajamas or anything like that. Although, full transparency, I am a proponent of wearing whatever you want, wherever. But if you're not, don't worry, because not only are they super comfortable, but they fit kind of for any sort of occasion. So check them out, guys. There's all sorts of people. Bert Kreischer, I don't know who that is exactly, but they told me he wakes up at his lake house wearing bird dogs, goes for a swim, smokes a cigar, grills burgers, and chills with his family in all the shorts over the summer. That's what he does. It's his big thing. I don't know if you guys knew that. Big deal. There's some other folks here. There's some college football people. Big people in this industry love these things, and I like them too. I've used them a whole bunch. Really easy fit. They stretch. The fabric's super soft. And again, they just look like the type of thing you can wear to maybe a ballpark. I might rock them going to this Yankees game on Saturday. I might wear them to see the Padres lose by 7 probably, but don't worry, because I'll be comfortable the whole time. So I'll be ecstatic about it, man. It'll be great. I'm not making this up. Bird Dogs, really comfortable, and they fit for every occasion. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. And when you enter the promo code LockedOnMLB, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs tumbler with every order, folks. And I don't have it in front of me right now, but let me tell you, I like it. The lid doesn't snap off like other tumblers I've had before. It's clean. The logo's nice. It's friendly. I like the little bird that's on the logo. Big fan of Bird Dogs. It gets the job done. So guys, once again, use code LockedOnMLB. They'll throw in a custom tumbler. Go check it out. And we're back, everybody, here on this Locked On crossover special extravaganza between myself and Steve and Stacey. Locked On Yankees, Locked On Padres. Remember to make not just Locked On Padres, but also Locked On Yankees your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms. And please, if you're a Yankees person or if you're just curious, go check out their show. Really well produced, really great stuff. You guys have been killing it. It feels like a reboot. You know, like when they did a reboot of or a
Fuller
reboot
House.
or remaster. Yeah, something like that. Like really doing good stuff. It's like the Resident Evil game that came out. You know what I mean?
Or Spider-Man PS4.
Exactly.
We're just gonna switch his face for some reason.
Yeah,
because it's better for our face tracking.
That was so fun.
Anyway.
It's like, no, you just want it to look like Tom Holland. But that was the whole thing.
It's okay. They gave us symbiote suit for PS5.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait, man. It's gonna be great.
It looks so good. It looks so good.
And Symbiote Suit Spider-Man, very annoyed for anybody who saw that gameplay trailer. I recommend go checking out. And you know who else is annoyed? Me watching this Padres team. And I imagine you guys might have some questions about the Pods right now. As we are recording this, you mentioned it's before the Yankees game. And as a result, it is also currently as the Padres were playing while we've been recording this, they were leading 5-2. It is now 6-5 Nationals. Unfortunately, after I believe about 27 hits happened off of not just Tim Hill, but also Nick Martinez. Good stuff. Our bullpen decided a great day to implode. But if you guys do have any questions, I imagine you do, because this Padres season for Padres fans and myself has been really, really disappointing for a myriad of reasons. And heading into this Yankees matchup, while I am excited, it's just not going super well for the Padres. And I was hoping that this would be a real clash of the Titans type of matchup, but it isn't at the moment.
Yeah, right now it definitely doesn't feel that way. I think the thing for you guys this season, right, has obviously you were kind of banking on getting Tatis back, and you did, and he's been a nice addition because it's Fernando Tatis Jr. And of course that's a nice addition, but it hasn't given the jolt, right? It hasn't really amplified the Padres to where they need to be. Am I correct in saying that?
That is absolutely correct. And Tatis, for the most part, while he has been a jolt, he's had a lot more productive outs. So while you might look at his slash line, he's walking a lot less. He's striking out a lot less, but his on-base percentage isn't very good. His slugging is good. He's been able to get some extra base hits, but not quite the MVP form of Tatis we've had so far. But the jolt is there. He's speedy on the base paths. He's still got a little bit of swagger, swinging at some ridiculous pitches every now and then, but he's still been nice. And more importantly, which I think maybe Yankees fans might not realize, but his defense has been easily the best thing I think that's probably happened, just in terms of like an individual aspect. on the team for the Padres in total this year. He's outs above average. He's in the top percentile. Sprint speed, everything. He's been awesome. His jump, he can throw guys out. So do not try and test his arm. He absolutely is capable of that. So he's been a nice addition, even if not at an MVP level, which of course, as I brought up on my show, Padres fans really just loved attacking everyone that said maybe he won't be an MVP player his first year. Just maybe. I know that like truly that's an awful take to think that a guy post-injury and post-suspension might not be the 160 WRC plus MVP player his first year. I know that that's crazy. And like, we should absolutely make fun of people for having a different opinion. It's really healthy and productive. But that's been the case with Tatis. So while he's been a good addition, just hasn't been enough. And it's not his fault. It's just a total across the board issue with the team. And that's just been their offense. Their pitching's been fine. I know I just mentioned that they blew this lead to the Nationals over the course of this recording, but their pitching has, for the most part, been pretty solid. Starting pitching was apparently, or what was thought to be, the weakness on this team, and that hasn't really been the case so far. But offense, man, like I put on the Yankees games every now and then because I just like to have baseball games on, and since the Padres are usually later, like it really must be cool, like to just randomly have, heck, IKF. I feel like has had some hits for you guys. Harrison Bader has come up and been clutch for you guys. You mentioned him earlier. Anthony Rizzo's a 300 batting average guy again. Like the Padres just haven't gotten anyone really, except for maybe Juan Soto since the beginning of May. And no one has played up to what their typical standards are. It's been really tough to watch.
What would you say the biggest issue is? Is it runners in scoring position? Is it just the whole shebang, they just can't get anything done, or is that a real problem?
During this game that happened while we were recording, there was a moment in which the San Diego Padres, the 2023 San Diego, only team in San Diego, Padres, had the bases loaded with a 3-0 count. I would like you guys to guess how many runs they scored.
I'm scared to say,
I know,
based on the jester's face.
0?
That is correct. They scored 0 runs. That is only one instance. It might be one of the greatest, and the fact that they're losing this right now, it's coming back to haunt them, but there's been other times. Manny Machado grounding into 2 double plays. Their first series against the Dodgers with runners in scoring position, boom, he grounds into 2 double plays. And now he's hurt. And also, by the way, in this game, Ha-Seong Kim is hurt. Dare I say the only player that has played up to what his expectations are. He got limped off the field. So that's just, again, not good stuff from the Padres. But runners in scoring position, they don't put together productive outs. And what I mean by that is they don't put the ball in play. They don't make things happen. They strike out. They don't even do a sac fly, right? I'm not asking for Grand Slam Diego to make a return, but they are one of the least productive teams with runners in scoring position, runners bases loaded, whatever it is. They hit the ball just poorly. It's foul balls. Trent Grisham just goes up there and swings through any fastball. It could be from Corey Kluber right now. I don't care. He'll still swing through it. He just, it's really tough. Nelson Cruz, who started off the season hot, albeit with a 380 BABIP, which is why he regressed. But I expected him to, at least be okay. Unfortunately, he's regressed to what he was last year. And I swear that guy decides before he gets up to the plate what he's going to do. He just like, I'm going to swing at every pitch, take my 3 hacks and sit down. That's what Nelson Cruz has been like on this team. And don't get me wrong, it hasn't been all bad. Matt Carpenter has been an okay addition for the team. Former Yankee. They kind of unlocked him last year. Hasn't been an all-star or anything, but a productive kind of tertiary piece. Damn, I said that word again. People keep bringing up that I keep saying tertiary so much. Piece for this lineup, but runners in scoring position is the number one thing. But even still as a whole, batting average, they're still low. I don't have the ranks right in front of me. I can pull them up, but just in terms of all the things that encompass offense, with the exception of maybe Xander Bogaerts to start to the season when he was literally the best F4 player in the league, to Soto's beginning of May, aside from those 2 things, this team is not clutch. It looks not disciplined at the plate. And there's been moments where you see them all joking around in the clubhouse, and I don't mind that stuff usually. Like I don't, but I know a lot of people do, especially in the middle of the game after you're getting swept by the Dodgers and your manager just called you out. And Rougned Odor another former Yankee, and then Tatis and Soto and Manny are just kind of making jokes and whatnot. It just doesn't come off right, and it's been about as bad, I think, as it could be so far for the Padres.
Especially when you look at the talent that is in 1 through 9. Like, you have one of the most talented rosters in all of baseball when you're looking at it, and it doesn't seem like Preller and company could even project this happening, right? Like, it's not even a thing of like, well, you could see that they weren't going to get production here, and you were kind of banking on a couple of guys. Like, look at other teams that are like that. Like, you're gambling on a couple of players. You're not gambling on Xander. You're not gambling on Manny. You're not gambling on Tatis. Like, you're not gambling on any of these guys, and even still, the production isn't there. I think outside of the start that the St. Louis Cardinals had, the Padres probably have the curious case of the San Diego Padres, if you will.
That's a great point. I think that this isn't like some of those free agents you bring over or acquisitions in the case of Soto and pre-established stars like Tatis and Manny. This isn't, to bring up a Yankees comp, this isn't like when they signed Jacoby Ellsbury, who, even when they signed him, there was immediately some kind of like red flags, right? Like, there was some wondering, like, his best years were behind him, all that stuff. That Brian McCann offseason, like, that was a weird one, right? And those players, there was at least a feeling of, I could see Ellsbury just be okay for a couple years and then fall off. It was a lot more feasible. I don't think anyone was like, yeah, Manny Machado is going to start this year after getting his extension and literally for the first month of the season be one of the only 30 players in the negative F4 range. That's how bad it was. And then right when he starts heating up, he gets hurt. So that's can't be projected. Xander Bogaerts, while you can make a general statement about signing players to big contracts at the age of 30, that's fine. But in general, he'd been the most consistent bat probably in baseball, or at least one of them, absent, your Mike Trouts and people like that, for the last decade. Like, seriously, the guy's been amazing. You guys know that, especially more than myself. So for him to be struggling as much as he is frustrating. And then Soto, it's just like, we gave up the farm.
There's going to be case studies on the Soto situation. Like,
it's impressive.
Dissertations. It's
impressive.
One of the most bizarre things we've ever seen in our lifetimes in baseball.
It's impressive. And on top of all those players individually not performing up to snuff, okay, fine. But could they at least be better a clutch team than the Oakland A's? The answer is no, apparently. It is. Oh, I'm like slowly losing it because that's what it's felt like. Slowly, yeah.
Slowly.
Do you think it's a pressure thing on them or no?
It has to be piling up.
Yeah. I mean, the laughing and joking in the clubhouse makes it seem like they don't feel pressure, but their performances are making it seem like it's kind of building, maybe.
It's crazy. I mean, Steve might know this better than me because I know you follow the NBA a little bit, Steve, but everyone on the team is James Harden. Like, it's just, that's what it feels like right now. They just show up one day and then poof, they're gone. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's been throughout the year, pretty frustrating to watch just a bunch of these acquired players and just acquired talent kind of go to waste, with very few exceptions, especially around starting pitching. But before we kind of get into it, I know you guys might have some more questions. This has been a lot of fun so far. But speaking of waste, let me tell you, you know what stinks? When you waste money on unwanted subscriptions. Does that ever happen to you guys? You ever got like a Paramount Plus or a Stars or like, some
Max.
Max. Everybody hop on Max. If you got those issues, look, it really piles up. Did you know that your subscriptions, most Americans think they spend around $80 a month on subscriptions when in fact it's closer to $200? That's right. It's a lot of money and it adds up over the course of the year. But guess what? If you download Rocket Money, they will help you out. It's a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Over 80%. That's right, 80. Oh yeah, 80% of people have unwanted subscriptions that they, forgot about and whatnot. Like the Stars app, like I mentioned, like Max. As Steve mentioned, all those things. Or maybe there's some random free trial thing that you got that transitions into the paying period and you just forgot. Look, we're all busy people. It happens. I'm not making fun of you folks, all right? These are just stats. This is what happens. But thanks to Rocket Money, they can quickly and easily find your subscriptions for you. And for any you don't want to pay for anymore, you can just hit cancel and it's going to do it for you just like that. Check that out. Over 3 million people have used Rocket Money, saving the average person up to $720 a year. That's some nice cheddar cheese right there, let me tell you, folks. So stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB. That's rocketmoney/LockedOnMLB. Go check it out.
And download Max.
As we return here. Look,
Stacey loves pulling up Rocket Money.
I have Rocket Money. It helps me out.
As we enter the waning moments of this here podcast, because this has been a lot of fun so far. And it's been the first, dare I say, crossover I've hosted in quite a long time. I don't know why. That's just how things shake up sometimes because of my internet. But what are some like underrated players? Who are some kind of what are some underrated storylines you think that Padres fans should keep an eye on from the Yankees perspective? Like, what are some players that people might not know about, or maybe players that are, starting to get hot? Like, what's going on in the world of Yankees outside of the obvious?
Well, I think something needs to be said here about the Yankees bullpen, which has been one of, if not the, weirdly enough, best in baseball this season. The Yankees bullpen, outside of a complete meltdown on Wednesday night, what was it, like 22 straight scoreless innings, Stacey?
It was something crazy
in that
like
range. And that had slipped right underneath our noses. Like we were like, oh yeah, the bullpen's just doing what they're doing. And they have some guys that you'll remember the names. There's some newer guys. There's, guys like Jimmy Cordero, who just comes out and attacks you, who was in AAA last season and, had been in the majors of the White Sox in the past. But there's some like reclamation projects ish. But, for the most part, especially in May, the bullpen has been lights out without a bona fide closer.
Right.
The Yankees have all but actually said the words closer by committee. But that's what they've worked with. And for the most part, it's really worked out outside of April and Clay Holmes, right? But yeah, the Yankees bullpen, I think, is the underrated star, considering how much they've had to be used with all these injuries that the Yankees have had to deal with throughout their rotation. It's been one of the things, Stacey, I said it the other day on the show. When Boone walks out of the dugout and points to the bullpen, I feel fine.
Usually, yeah.
A lot of teams can't say that.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. It's true. Guys like, they have Michael King back. Michael King was a big loss in 2022 when he broke his arm. So having him back and pitching as well as he's been pitching lately, he's picking it up lately. It's good to see him back. Ron Marinaccio stepping it up. He had a little bit of a rough patch and then he started mowing people down. And before he got hurt in Toronto, Ian Hamilton came out of nowhere. No one knew who this dude was. And he was pretty much money every time the Yankees put him in. And I would say the bullpen is the biggest story for them, aside from the obvious, Judge. And you had mentioned earlier, Javi, Rizzo. Rizzo has been unbelievable this season. Yeah. And we feel like he's also been under the radar. Like, people aren't mentioning Anthony Rizzo when they talk about the Yankees, but he's just been incredible throughout the entire season.
Yeah, he's been the most consistent, the most steady hand in the lineup. And it's crazy too, Stacey. I mean, we haven't talked about this on Yankees, but I don't know if you've noticed the seemingly the pressure he's put on himself to consistently perform. I mean, this dude can be 3 for 3, with an RBI and then strikes out in the 8th inning when they're leading by 3 or 2 or whatever. And you'll see him throw his helmet down. I'm like, dude, you've done you're 3 for 4 today. Like calm down. So it seems like Anthony Rizzo has, I'm not going to say taken the next step in his career, because his career has been incredible to this point.
Yeah.
But I will say that Anthony Rizzo is turning into this seasoned veteran player who is playing like he's 25 and in the prime. it's really awesome to watch because he's an easy guy to root for. He's always been an easy guy to root for. And to see him succeed,
Former Padre.
and yes, you're right. But to see him succeed is a very like heartwarming and just like who's going against Anthony Rizzo. You know, it's really nice to see him, and I've really enjoyed watching him, especially this season.
Yeah, I mean, again, it sounds fun. I too wish my players played up to my expectations.
Yeah, cool, Steve. Cool.
Now,
I want to hit. Thanks.
I do want to point out though, because you guys attested to the bullpen a bunch. You know, a lot of people, they bring up, you know, the analytics and how important it is to have a bullpen, and it is important, and that's been huge for the Yankees. In fact, the bullpen ERA for you guys right now is the best in Major League Baseball, 2.94. It's the best. Padres, for what it's worth, is the 5th best, which is very nice too. My apologies. We do have one thing going for us. Our relievers are sometimes good, so long as I am not recording a crossover with you guys in the middle of a game against the Nationals in which they blow the 5-2 lead, right? Aside from that, though, really good stuff. And a bullpen really can help carry any rotation issues, because I know we attested to Rodon earlier. I know Severino has some issues every now and then with staying healthy. Garrett Cole is great. Obviously, he's just so easy to make fun of, but he's great. And it's nice to just know that if he's not on for whatever reason, you still have like a lights out bullpen. The Padres are just in a position where they kind of waste their bullpen. They don't score enough runs. So that's where we're at. I don't know if it's going to change. I'm wondering if you guys have any predictions about this series. I will be, once again, because I have to plug this, I'm constitutionally required, I will be at the game on Saturday to watch. I believe it is Luis Severino pitching for the Yankees. Is that correct?
Yeah, Sevy goes Saturday. Garrett Cole versus Yu Darvish on Sunday. That's going to be a great game. Kind of very excited for that matchup on Sunday. You should trade your tickets in. Use the Game Time app, and you should get some tickets for Sunday's game.
Yeah, right.
But Friday's a weird game for the Yankees. They're calling up Randy Vasquez. Remember, Domingo Germán is still serving a suspension for sticky stuff, and the Yankees have kind of had to piece together some things in the rotation right now. And Randy Vasquez will be making his MLB debut on Friday in the opener. It's supposed to be Johnny Brito's day. Last time out, the Yankees used an opener for him. They used Jimmy Cordero, and it ended up working out really well. We'll see if Randy Vasquez is an opener. He has not had a lot of success this season with the Rail Riders in AAA, so I am very curious. This is a guy who was in High A last year and got called up to AA, pitched fine, and then with the trades and the injuries, Vasquez was with the Rail Riders this season. So I don't know how long he's going to go. We got this news right before we hit record, so I'm very curious how Vasquez pitches on Friday. He's one of their top 30s, but he's young, and for my money, I don't think he's ready, but we'll see. It's time to be ready.
Hey, in fairness, going up against Joe Musgrove on Friday, usually typically very good, but he's had a slow start. Nothing that I'm like freaking out about, but 6.7 ERA, because you also start off the season, you know, on the injured list with the weight room. Again, we should have known. I should have known. Is there a greater omen, right? Like sometimes I'm not saying I believe or don't believe in these things, but if there was someone who does, and you hear that like the star, like heart of your team, right? I know that Yu Darvish is technically a little bit better as a pitcher, whatever, but the star of your team has the foot thing. I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. That might have been a sign. Maybe I should have known. You got to pay attention to those things. And then Michael Wacha is going on Saturday, and then you mentioned Yu Darvish. Michael Wacha, by the way, of course. Got to shout out Mr. Waka Waka himself. And he's also been solid for the what'd you say?
Is it Fozzie Bear Waka Waka?
No.
Yes.
Solid. Yes. In terms of ERA, he's been one of the best starters on the team. I think maybe he's behind Darvish at this point, but which is, again, it's just everything you expect on this Padres team. And I know a lot of people, once again, will likely, not for sure, leave some comments about me being negative. That's the other thing I noticed. People care if you're negative when things are really bad, but not when you think they might get bad, right? You know what I mean? Like, you're not allowed to project. Like, if you have worries about the team and you express them, it's like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, I got a comment, I think it was a month ago, about, you know, Bob Melvin, and like, this is the Bob Melvin wouldn't be saying these things or whatever. And like, I was like,
okay,
I'm not Bob Melvin, man.
Yeah.
What can I say?
This my favorite quote that I ever heard on a show ever came from the baseball podcast Tipping Pitches. I don't know if you listen to them. They're awesome. Great guys. The thing that I like to say, and I like to say a lot, is this is their standard commenter. If I were the general manager, I would simply trade all the bad players for all the good players. Yes. And I feel like that's just pretty much on the nose at this point.
Let me tell you, I'm not totally unconvinced that standard YouTube commenter might be onto something if they're talking about AJ Preller and how he manages the team. A man who I have gone back and forth on more times than I've replayed The Last of Us. Let me tell you, like I have gone over and over. I cannot decide just on AJ Preller. He's very fun. You know, I compared it to Russell Westbrook. People can go check that out at justbaseball.com. Why I made that comparison. If
that's
you'd like.
Interesting. That is interesting. As a Lakers fan, especially who watched 99% of games this season, even during the Russell Westbrook era, that is an interesting comparison.
It's what I do, man. It's what I do. I still got it sometimes, I guess. But yeah, I guess my final prediction, I think the Yankees win this series. I think the Padres will win at least a game. I always say that just because law of averages. That's just what I abide by. I don't know which game it'll be. I'm going to go and say Saturday because I will be there. And I like to hope that at least some happiness will be in store for me this weekend. But guys, this has been a blast. Do you have any kind of final thoughts or messages or things you'd like to plug for the good people out there that are listening or watching?
No, I don't really have anything to plug, but I love doing crossovers with you. And I like this new open baseball schedule that we have. So we're playing more teams, you know, that we don't usually see. So I think that's going to be fun in 2023.
Yeah. You can check my YouTube channel, Steve Granado, if you want to see Javier. We talked about Tatis, but that is super old because it was when he was coming back from injury. But yeah, I had Javi on my own personal YouTube channel. It's at Steve Granado on YouTube.
And check out him trying to eat a bunch of hot dogs. That went really well, for sure.
Here's a quick pro tip. Don't try to do the hot dog challenge when Shohei's facing the Kansas City Royals.
Oh,
you're going to have 8 minutes to eat 3 hot dogs. It's not possible.
Really nuts. And Stacey, I agree as well. It's very cool. No matter how this series goes, I like that we're finally getting, you know, it took baseball like 100 years to figure out it's probably a good idea that every team plays each other over the course of 162 games, that everyone plays each other at least once. Congratulations, baseball. Welcome to the 21st century. But I really do think it's a plus that you just get to see new stuff. A lot of Padres fans probably going to get to watch Aaron Judge for the first time, or at least likely in a game live setting, getting to see him live, or Rizzo, or Garrett Cole, or whoever the heck is actually good that's on your team. So very much looking forward to it. But again, thank you guys so much for joining me. And for everybody else, remember to follow me at Javipeno on Twitter, JAVIIPENO, or at LO_Padres in case you get bored of my dumb tweets. Go check out me tweeting live. I actually sent out something during the course of this podcast. That's how shifty I am. You know what I mean? That's how I do it. But you can check that out and check out the YouTube as well, where we've got new graphics and me wearing my dumb clown hat. You can go check that out. And until next time, stay safe. And of course, stay faithful, my Friar Faithful homies. Take care.